Welcome to Pearson Bryson. My name's Conrad. Welcome to Stock Alphabet, where we take you from letter A all the way to Z to help you build a portfolio of 26 companies to invest in. You can purchase one of the companies, two of the companies, three of the companies, or all of the companies, and this is how you diversify your portfolio. Let's get right into it. In a previous episode, we invested in Apple, was the stock ticker AAPL, and then the next episode was stock ticker BYND for Beyond Meat, and this episode will be stock ticker CLSK, which is Clean Spark Inc. Quite impressive. I've impressed quite a few. I actually reviewed quite a bit of companies. As I've shown you in previous episodes, I'm using a Charles Schwab account. You can use any brokerage account you like. It could be Robinhood, it could be even Cash App Investments, it could be Fidelity, it could be Sophie, whatever you feel comfortable with, you can invest with, not a problem. It could be Chase, it could be Wells Fargo brokerage, whatever. We're using Charles Schwab, and what I'm doing with this account is I'm purchasing only one share of each of the companies. I have my own personal account that I invest a whole lot more into, and I have a business account, and Pearson Bryson has an account where we invest into. This is for the purpose to show how our methodology and how we review intrinsic value and how we invest. So let me dive right into this and show you CLSK for Clean Spark Inc., which is quite impressive. You can find them also on the stock exchange on NASDAQ, stock ticker CLSK, as I mentioned before. And as I was looking at, I'm going to share my screen with you shortly. As I was reviewing different companies in the letter C quadrant, I found quite a bit of companies that I'm still going to probably invest in, but this company CLSK is what I believe in more. I have it was much more compelling to me. And so, for example, like one of the companies was Comcast, which you might have heard of Comcast. Comcast offers to businesses and homeowners and renters and apartments cable services, internet services, etc. But did you know they also are? Did you know NBC Universal is a subsidiary of Comcast? And did you know Comcast also owns the rights for Universal Studios, like the theme parks in Hollywood and throughout the world? They actually are a company that I'm pretty impressed with, actually. Another company was Compass, which has recently just received a merger of 1.6 billion and have labeled them as one of the largest brokerages in history at this point. That's another interesting company I'm looking at. Another company I'm looking at is a banking institution by Citi, C-I-T-I. You might have a bank card with them, you might have a loan with them. They have a high net worth side. It's a company that we are interested in, but we're kind of hands off when it comes to banks. But those are a few of the companies, and that's what happens in Stock Alphabet. Sometimes you might find a company out of each letter. You can always invest in all of those companies. For the purposes of this, we're only building a portfolio of 26. If you do end up doubling, like say you end up getting 2 companies per month, 3 companies per month, it just multiplies, so it doubles. So if you get 2 stocks per month, then that 26 turns into 52 investments. If you get 3, that turns into 78, etc., and thus forth. So we're keeping it simple at 1. We're just trying to build a portfolio of 26 companies. And so what I chose, I'm gonna share my screen with you. Here we go. So sorry, it's a little bit of delay. Hope you guys see that. So, okay, I'm in my Charles Schwab account, and see, stock ticker C. I'm just putting a letter C, pardon me, and see CLSK. Okay. Open it up. It's trading between $11.99 to about $12 approximately. And there's always going to be a wide variety of different prices. Different companies trade at different price points for different reasons. This company's been a trailblazer though, and quite impressed. And I'm going to share my whiteboard of convictions right behind me and buy. So that's pretty much what's going on. So this is my whiteboard of convictions for Stock Alphabet. At the end of the video, as I mentioned in every episode, I'm going to leave the whiteboard at the end of the video. You can scrutinize and you can work through it. We're getting better and better at just putting more information on it. It's quite a bit, and this is only a summarized version. I have so much more information in my mind I'm going to share with y'all, but I had to try to condensify it and solidify it and summarize it in such a fashion so that it could be easy so that when you're reading it, again, this picture of my whiteboard is going to be a clear picture at the end of the video if you want that. And again, don't just take my word for it. I'm going to leave all the links, all the articles, all the websites, all the investment know-how below. Always do your due diligence. Always scrutinize anyone you hear on YouTube, social media, etc. What if we make a mistake? You always want to do your own scrutinization test. But what I am saying is true, and I left all the proof in the description below, and you can also look at the whiteboard at the end of the video and scrutinize it. But Clean Spark Inc., that what you can also do further research, and I left in the description below, through the Securities and Exchange Commission, is you can use the Egger tool, the Egger system tool, which allows you to look up any publicly traded company, which they are traded on NASDAQ, stock ticker CLSK. And what you can do is you can go through a 10K, you go through 8Ks, you go through all the document information, liability, see how they're actually how they're performing, what the transactions are, etc. So as you go down in the screen below, you can actually review that. Sometimes there's issue reviewing the documents. So I put the instructions on how to review the 10Ks. Sometimes you can actually pull it up, but a lot of times you just have to type in the stock ticker, or you have to actually just type in the name. So for example, you type in either Clean Spark and it'll pop up, or Clean Spark Inc., or CLSK, just the stock ticker, it'll pull it on up and review the PDF. As it shows on the screen, that's how you do it. So watch the screen, that's how you do it. It's super simple. Go through, you can look at 10K. They're valued currently like around 1.9 billion or almost 2 billion. Quite a bit. They're definitely a trailblazer, as I mentioned. They're actually a mining company, a Bitcoin mining company. And the reason why my conviction is strong with this Clean Spark Energy, or Clean Spark Inc., pardon me, as I put here, is Bitcoin itself. So I'm going to tell you a little story. So Bitcoin was founded essentially in 2008, and then it was publicized in 2009. The owner is unknown. They use a pseudonym, which is great. It's really amazing, actually. And what it did essentially is, it was a time when it was first released, you could be at home on your regular computer, a CPU, and you could solve these cryptographics, this cryptography essentially. You solve puzzles and you get rewarded actual currency from decentralized banking institution. Essentially, that's what it is. It's not centralized. It's a bit of the Wild West, but it had value. So you could do that. You could be just a regular person. You could even be a kid in high school and do this. And you start mining yourself. It's called mining. What happened was the puzzles became more and more complex with due time. So CPUs were no longer sufficient. You need to use something called GPUs. People that use GPUs, it could solve problems efficiently and a whole lot faster in a lot more complex manner and efficient manner than CPUs. Long story short, the mathematical equations and the cryptography and the cryptographics became more and more complex, more mathematically oriented. You need more intelligent programs, which is called ASIC, which essentially means Application Specific Integrated Circuit, ASIC. This software, computers you would call it, would solve these in such an efficient manner. It keeps costs down because you need a lot of energy. And at the time when it first came out, 2008, 2009, you could just plug in at home, cool. As it became more complex, you need more power to solve these problems, solve these complex equations, and you start needing acres of land, actually. So the barrier to entry was low in the beginning and shot all the way up. What makes this company so special is Clean Spark. And think of this, let this really set in. What I'm about to say is going to be alarming. Really understand this. Clean Spark is a miner, a Bitcoin miner specifically. They only mine Bitcoin. There's a lot of other miners that mine Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP. They mine a lot of different types of cryptocurrencies, and that's fine. This team right here are specialists. They're actually considered America's Bitcoin mining, essentially. They represent being the mining, Bitcoin mining of America. That's what they call themselves. If you go to their webpage, it's amazing, and they've been doing that. So what makes them unique is that they're miners first, but even before that, because that's all they do is Bitcoin mining. They've been around for almost 40 years, since 1987. That's a long time, 1987. they've rebranded themselves quite a bit, but they specialize in land contracts, energy conservation, locating low-cost energy contracts for multiple years at a time. They own quite a bit of land and data centers. They specialize in building data centers. They're the machine that builds the machine, essentially. They're a vertically integrated company. They start from the bottom, they keep costs low, and they build everything. Everything's automated for the most part. They own most everything they use. They create everything they use. Again, they're the machine that builds the machine. Quite phenomenal. So that's part of the reason why Claim a Spark is amazing. And I'm gonna go into a lot more reasons why in this video. That's my number one reason, is because they not only have, before Bitcoin, they are already in the industry of locating power contracts, which for those that aren't aware of that, it takes a lot of power to solve these complex cryptographic equations. And you need acres of land, a lot of land. They've recently expanded into Texas and Georgia as well, and acquire a lot more land contracts. They own a lot of land as well. They also diversify their income and lease property, lease data centers, lease power to other miners as well. What's the cool that diversifies their income, because these contracts are hard to come by and it's very competitive. So that's the first part, that they specialize in that, which keeps the cost low, and they happen to learn Bitcoin. They're not Bitcoin miners who have to learn the construct of how to acquire land contracts and get cheap power contracts. That's a whole lot harder to do, because that means you're not land or real estate oriented. This company's land oriented, real estate oriented, and power oriented, and they happen to start mastering the levels of mining for Bitcoin. So that's what's important about this. And the fact that they chose Bitcoin, remember this, Bitcoin is basically the face of cryptocurrency. Doesn't matter if it's XRP, doesn't matter if it's Ethereum, doesn't matter if it's Dogecoin, doesn't matter if it's any other cryptocurrency. When you think of Dogecoin, when you think of XRP, when you think of Ethereum or any other cryptocurrency, you always think about the grandfather, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the most popular, one of the first, globally speaking, crypto coins, and the most highly valued cryptocurrency at this time. And it's the first, it's the originator, it's the pioneer. So when you think of Bitcoin, you don't think of other cryptocurrencies, you think of Bitcoin alone. When you think of other cryptocurrencies, you typically think of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's what started it all. So the fact that they invest, or they mine Bitcoin, it furthered my conviction just for that. Second reason why it furthered my conviction is because President Trump, there's a Bitcoin conference, if you're aware of this or not. In 2024, Donald Trump was a keynote speaker. Did you know that? Our current sitting president at this time is enthused and an advocate for Bitcoin. And he mentioned this, and I'm totally going to paraphrase this. Pardon me if I'm butchering this, but he said something along the lines that his goal is to ensure that America becomes the crypto capital of the world, essentially the globe, and the Bitcoin, the superpower. That's alarming. Think about it. Let that really settle in. The sitting president currently said this. And not just that, he's also had JD Vance, his vice president, talk on his behalf about how enthused they are in regards to Bitcoin. Starting to see a pattern here. In 2025, in New York, there was another crypto event. And he had sent he was a standing president already. He sent a pre-recorded video about how enthused he was. He's totally been gun-ho over this. So when you have an active sitting president who's been advocating for Bitcoin, he didn't say Ethereum, he didn't say XRP, he didn't say Dogecoin, he didn't say any other cryptocurrency. He said specifically Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that he doesn't believe in these other cryptocurrencies, but he's not mentioning them. He's mentioning Bitcoin. Because again, Bitcoin is the most popular, the most successful. When you think of cryptocurrency, you think Bitcoin. Incredible. Remember that. My conviction number 3, even stronger. President Trump, our current sitting president, cited in an order March 6th of 2025, almost a year ago, an executive order wrote into law to make sure that Bitcoin, not XRP, not Ethereum, not saying that he's not doing that as well, but he specifically wrote this for Bitcoin. Executive Order 14233, right here. 14233, look it up. I left the description below. March 6th of 2025, he wrote into law and signed for it that Bitcoin would become a reserve asset. Do I need to not say any more? What does that mean essentially? A reserve asset. Don't mean to make this political, but you need to understand this when you're investing in the market. It's an emotional business, but there's a bit of politics in it as well. What that means essentially is a reserve asset is an asset that's going to be utilized and held and accrued by the Treasury, First National Bank, etc., governments, the same way they hold gold, the same way they hold foreign currencies. There's a value to it. It's considered almost like crypto gold. Do you understand that? It's Bitcoin is considered gold to the government. It's actually called that. Incredible. So if the president, and again, yes, I'm talking about the company CleanSpark, but when you hear at Pearson Bryson, I'm going to give you the full methodology on how we invest and how I invest. Hedge funds typically don't do this. So for those that want to learn how to invest in stocks, follow my journey and Stock Alphabet, which I created here at Pearson Bryson. We're the only one that does Stock Alphabet. We teach you how to build a 26 company portfolio yourself. Or you teach whoever you want this as well. But we coined this, we created this strategy, and I'm sharing this with the world. People don't do this, hedge funds don't do this, and private equity funds don't do this, and banks don't do this. So please take notes, do due diligence. Leave comments if you think I'm wrong about something. I'm always willing to learn. I am not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes, but I make a lot of rights. And most of my rights outweigh the no's. So always remember that. The most successful investor, the Ray Dalios of the world, will say themselves and have mentioned this, they've made mistakes. Ray Dalio is someone I really am enthused and really appreciate. He's brought such an educational level to the finance sector, using his time to educate people. You guys watch his principles. But anyways, he even says he's made many mistakes. He's worth billions. It's okay to make mistakes. What's not okay is not learning from the mistakes. So that's the point. So that's my furthest conviction for President Trump. He wrote in a law, March 6, 2025, that Bitcoin would be the crypto, basically the reserve asset, which that means that kind of makes it more legitimate. Think about it. He's building the bones and the groundwork for what's to come. This is already known as Saudi Arabia, all over the world, Europe, Africa, North America, of course, Canada, part of North America. You know, it's already penetrated the globe. People know what this is. So always understand, I put that right here. And again, I'm gonna leave this in the back of the video as well, in the interview, pardon me. I already mentioned that it's vertically integrated. The fact that I like about it being virtually integrated here at CleanSpark is that CleanSpark, they are the machine that builds the machine, but what they do essentially is they make sure to keep costs low. They've been in business since 1987. They have quite a bit of land that they own and have acquired. They have land contracts, power contracts to keep costs very low, and they're good at what they do. They're specialists. Now they're specialists at mining Bitcoin. And I want to share something with you. When you look at Bitcoin, remember this, I want you to really let this sink in. People don't think of it this way. When I'm looking at Bitcoin, when I invest in Bitcoin, that's the easy part. It's fairly high. It's around 91,000 per coin as of today. But that's the easy part. Where does it come from? Think about that. Where does Bitcoin come from? Miners. They're miners. Without miners, there would be no Bitcoin. Impossible. Because the very structure and confines of Bitcoin down to a basic level is that you must solve a puzzle, a cryptography puzzle or a cryptographic puzzle to be rewarded a Bitcoin. So that means without miners solving these problems for you, there'd be no Bitcoin for you and I to purchase. So remember this. This company that's traded on NASDAQ, stock ticker CLSK, is a miner. They have land contracts, Texas, Georgia, throughout the states. They own quite a bit of land, acres. They're investing into heavily into expansion, into AI as well. We get further into that later. Instead of paying attention so much to Bitcoin, which, yes, purchase Bitcoin if you can. Also, start paying attention to miners, because that's where it comes from. And a matter of fact, I'm gonna share another secret with y'all that hedge funds aren't gonna share with you. Miners can leverage Bitcoin. What does that mean, you say? I'll share that with you. What that means essentially is when you leverage Bitcoin, you only can leverage it really, in true sense, if you are mining it. If you mine it, meaning you're solving the equations, the mathematical equilibriums, the at this level of solving these problems, you reward these Bitcoins that you can release to the public or sell. Remember? So what happens is, since they are creating essentially the process to being rewarded these Bitcoins by mining, they can leverage it. That means their cost stays the same. Remember, they locked in long-term contracts. What's unique about this business right here, CleanSpark miner, is that business essentially, when you look at it, most businesses, their expenses and costs go up as they make more money, essentially. Usually, that's usually what happens. It's a little different in this realm because they're the machine that creates the machine. They own the land. They actually lease the land to other miners. They're vertically integrated. Their cost was very low. It's baffling, actually. As I'm processing this information, they keep costs low, but as it surges, it hedges it. It's crazy because since they mine it and they create, basically creating the Bitcoin by solving these complex strategies and mathematical sequences, their cost stays the same, but as Bitcoin rises, their miners' revenue is growing. It's increasing at alarming rates because the mining of it is. Sorry, this is live. It's as I'm processing this. They're completely making money hand over fist because as Bitcoin increases in price, and they've been doing this, they're not spending anymore. It's locked in. It's done. That means it gives them a lot more range. So they start from here. The Bitcoin keeps going up. Their price stays here. The price stays here and keeps rising. That means there's more profit for them, more profit for you, more profit for investors. If they're a credit investor, if you're invested into them through the NASDAQ, you can make more money because they own the land. They create the machine they create the machine that builds the machine, or I'm mixing this up, but it's just phenomenal. So that's the whole, it's crazy. So the fact that they actually can leverage that and they could release them to the market, they could hold on to them, and their cost remains the same as it grows. Incredible. It is absolutely incredible. So that's another conviction of mine, to be quite honest and everything. Another conviction is that you might not be aware of this company, and that's a powerful part. I really didn't know about this company until I start really researching them. And then and they also have a YouTube as well. I left their YouTube in the description below. Totally follow them. A lot of great resources on their YouTube channel. You can look at their shorts, look at their videos, look at their forward statements, etc. Again, you can also look at the Edgar system. You can also pull them up through and type in CLK or CleanSpark Inc. and look at it that way. They're very transparent, which is what I like about them. Not only they're vertically integrated, they're very public. They're very transparent, and they've been very truthful. So my fifth conviction is that they partnered with another company that's also vertically integrated that you might not have heard of. They've been doing business since 2015. They were founded. So over 10 years, over a decade, this other company has become a global behemoth. Submerged. Right here. Submerged. When you think submerge, it's a play on words. Submerge, like submerge in water. You submerge in the water, cool it down, keep it in water. That's what they do. They build data centers that orchestrate liquid cooling. They provide this to some of the biggest conglomerates in the world globally about how to keep down the cost, build you a data center that institutes liquid cooling. Let's remember, electricity, power generates heat. To keep it down, keep it efficient, and keep it cool so that it doesn't overheat, you need liquid cooling, period. This company Submerge that Clean Spark has recently partnered with. Now you have two vertically integrated companies, the machine that builds the machine, adding to their own machines and become one. They've partnered. They've locked out other companies now. So if you want liquid cooling, you're going through Clean Spark. Even if you're another miner, you're leasing from Clean Spark, you're purchasing from Submerge. It's amazing. It's almost like a legal monopoly almost. It's absolutely incredible. So that's another conviction, because other miners, other mining companies, other competitors to Clean Spark, stock ticker CLSK, will have to purchase through Submerge, who is partnered and owned or partially owned or partnered with Clean Spark Inc. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. They become one. They partnered. So that's how you legally monopolize something, and it's pure control, and the barrier to entry is high. That's my conviction. It strengthens my conviction because the barrier to entry is so high, and the two behemoths have become one and locked out everyone else. So you have to go through them almost. So the more land they acquire, the more rights. They could choose to give you rights. They could choose not to give you rights. They could say, we're going to refuse you and ice you out because we want the business in that area. You have a lot of control. It's almost an unholy amount of control, because if you're another company looking at this video and you're a miner, even if you're a big company, you have an amazing amount of competition because they can lock you out in different territories. It's chess. It's complete chess, 4-dimensional chess, not even 2-dimensional, 4-dimensional chess being played here. Strategic evolution is what they call it, and it is that. And it's so interesting. I want to almost end this video, so I want to get back to the numbers, but I want to keep my promise and share this with you. And so that's the whole point. So I love that the Submerge and them actually came together. The Submerge, I've been talking about a lot of open AI, ChatGPT, Sora. Google's working on their own AI. AI is the future. If you order food, you have a robot bring it to you typically, seriously. Sometimes I order food, and if I'm too busy or I'm working on numbers, I order through an app, and then a robot brings it to my door, go downstairs, go upstairs. If I'm at work, if I'm at home, pick up my food, and I'm done. Pretty cool. We're in a world of everything being automated and AI oriented, and our attention span has become a lot shorter because everything's more efficient now. So understanding that methodology as part of our culture now, Submerge is the world conglomerate and behemoth of the world that developed data centers for AI and for other miners. Pretty cool. So what they did essentially is they'll be paid in contract by the government, by different companies, private companies, public companies, to build data centers for these conglomerates. And that's what's amazing. So like OpenAI, Sora, ChatGPT, Google, they use data centers. This company builds data centers with that when they specialize in cooling data centers, with liquid cooling data centers. So they locked out a lot of their companies. They have a contract with each other. They're partnered. They're one at this point. And that's pretty scary for other companies, but which is why it's green for me and why I'm investing heavily into this. And Pierce Bryson is as well. Number 6, Jeffrey Thomas. Get used to that name. If you start following this company, you'll hear a lot about Jeffrey Thomas. He actually just spent maybe a little over 3 months. He's a new senior vice president. Why his name matters is he successfully has built over $12 billion for like 19 different ventures. He has an unholy amount of 40 years of experience. That's almost unheard of in the sector of building data centers. Submerge, and also so Jeffrey Thomas, the senior vice president of Clean Spark, was brought over for strategic evolution. They locked in a Submerge contract, so now they're becoming with Submerge. They have 40 years of experience added with Jeffrey Thomas. who specialize in Saudi and Middle East, Africa, Europe, United Kingdom. He's been all over the place to actually build data centers for these large data center companies and mining companies, etc., and AI. He specializes in that. And guess who has them now? CleanSpark. CleanSpark. So not only CleanSpark has almost 40 years, they've been founded in 1987, 40 years of experience, plus another 40 years, 80 years with Jeffrey Thomas, and another 10 years, a decade with Submer. That's almost 100 years of experience. You stack those together, that's almost 100 years. That's 90 years collectively, almost 100 years. That is wildly rare. And that's another reason. You have to look at the experience that's being brought to the table. These are alarming numbers of competition. When you think about it, how much experience from Jeffrey Thomas, 40 years experience in industry. Read the articles below. Don't just take my word for it. Look at their LinkedIn. Look at CleanSpark's LinkedIn. Look at the articles about Jeffrey Thomas. He's phenomenal. He's already globally known, actually. And so he's a big time behemoth that was added. And while at the same time, they have Submer, which has a decade, and they also have 40 years themselves, or close to 40 years. So it's like 90 years of experience, like in this company. Let that settle in. That's huge. You know how much experience they have, how many mistakes that they've probably made in the past that other companies will make that they have. Intellectual property to its finest, and also strategic evolution. There's so much patent, so much information they have that it's going to really make them a huge competitor. This is our long-term investment. We do see them really going to the moon and back quite a few times. And this will be, I'm going to go through all the fluctuations. It doesn't matter if they're in the red, if they're in the green. I'm going to buy till the button's broke. So I'm going to keep buying. And as you mentioned, as I showed in the beginning, I already bought for around a little over $12. We do assume it's going to grow a whole lot more. It's a long-term investment and vertically integrated, and we really like it here at Pearson Bryson. So, as I mentioned, they're considered America's Bitcoin miner. That's actually their slogan. That's part of the intellectual property. That's part of the trademark. It's on their webpage. America's Bitcoin miner. That flows perfectly into the executive order 14233 for President Trump. America, Trump, and CleanSpark Inc., America's Bitcoin miner, fits perfectly. And without a miner, there is no Bitcoin. So always understand, buying Bitcoin, no matter how exorbitant the rate is or how expensive it might appear, it's currently at 91,000 today for one coin. Without miners, it wouldn't even be possible. Matter of fact, without miners, everything would cease to exist, because at this point, there'd be no other way to add any new Bitcoin to the market. And for the Bitcoin that's there, it's because miners. CleanSpark Inc. is a miner. They use, as I mentioned, they specialize by using ASIC, which is Application Specific Integrated Circuit. It's a software computer, essentially, that's used specifically for Bitcoin to mine it, to solve these complex problems in record time, utilizing even lower energy. They already locked in low energy costs, but at the same time, they locked in a software that will solve it for them fast. That's the faster you solve it, the faster you reward, the less energy you use. You keep costs low. That's why you can't use a CPU or GPU. It's too expensive. You can't comprehend it. ASIC is the way to go at this point. Next, Bitcoin and AI. CleanSpark, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to the world of AI now. Same way how OpenAI, Sora, ChatGPT, Google, that is the world. AI is already here. Tesla as well, stock ticker TSLA. That's already here. So they're not only Bitcoin mining, they specialize in that. They're diversifying their income by partnering with Submerge and hiring on Jeffrey Thomas as the senior vice president, who has over 40 years experience, to go into AI. Because remember, it takes the same components and construct. Bitcoin mining and also AI both require data centers. Both require acres of land, not a little bit, of acres of land, states of land, cities of land. They need a holy amount of land and power, which needs to be cooled. They locked in, essentially creating a legal monopoly, really, that now they're going to be two vertically integrated companies that create everything themselves, essentially, keep costs low. They're creating it themselves. It's not outsourced. There's no manufacturer fee. They're doing it themselves. They're the machine that builds the machine. But now they actually specialize in mining, but also they lease their real estate. They lease their land. They lease their data centers to other miners who are locked out. They can lock in a territory where you can't get that contract now because they have it. They have two companies, so even if you need data centers, you have to start learning how to build it yourself, and that's hard to do within itself. Even for billion-dollar companies, just build actually data centers. They have a global behemoth that they partner with, Submerge, that builds liquid cooling data centers, and now they can lock people out of the contract. They can also lease land to you. They can lease data centers to you. They can lease power to you as well. They own the rights to land. So that they diversify their income. That's one reason to consider. Next is that they're going to AI. They have the same bones and same methodology and same construct as both need a lot of power, both need acres of land, both need electricity, both need to keep the costs low. And essentially it requires a lot of land and data centers, and both require both. So they're already positioned well ahead of their competitors because they already have all the land contracts, the power contracts, the same bones and same ingredients that AI needs. AI, like companies that own AI, like OpenAI, Sora, ChatGPT product, they need data centers. Google has data centers. They already have data centers. They're already positioned to be able to do well in AI. That's huge. This is what you call convergence, people. Convergence. They're uniquely positioned to capitalize on an AI boom. It is speculative, as I wrote there, but it's realistic with everything I just mentioned. Due to CleanSpark's infrastructure, mining facility, electrical connections that can be used for AI. They already have this. They don't have to go out and look for it. It's already very hard to get into. It's a high barrier to entry. There's legalities there, etc. It's a lot to consider. They built mining sites were built in areas with cheap power costs, which keeps costs cheap for mining and AI. They've actually recently expanded to Texas. It was a phenomenal, it's a huge state. And the cool thing about Texas is that they're specializing in AI. They're going to do Bitcoin mining, but they're expanding with AI with this partnership with Submerge and also the Senior Vice President Jeffrey Thomas. And this is just huge. It's quite alarming. So I mean, that's why I really believe in this, is that all of these reasons is here, but it's just a huge pivot for us. And for the most part, I mean, and Bitcoin, it's like the face. Bitcoin's the face of it. It's no different than like if you like a cell phone. When you think cell phone, you think either Apple or you think Android. Yes, there's other manufacturers, other great brands out there, I'm sure, but you think Apple and Android when you think of cell phones. Same when you think of cryptocurrency, you think of Bitcoin. You don't think of Ethereum. I mean, even if you're investing in Ethereum, you think of Bitcoin first. Bitcoin's the grandfather. Bitcoin is the face of cryptocurrency. That's the truth of this matter. So it's quite impressive. I love what I found out. I'm going to end this video, so I want to get into the numbers. If you have any questions, concerns, if I made a mistake, and I said it not because I'm not confident in myself or confident in what I'm saying. I'm human, and humans make errors, and I understand that. So I'm always willing to learn. And if someone can share information with me that helps me with my investments, absolutely. Please feel free to scrutinize. Feel free to shout out, say good job, whatever. You don't even have to say anything, but feel free. This is a think group, and y'all are intelligent, and we're learning how to build a stock portfolio of 26 companies through my stock strategy I created here at Pearson & Bryson called Stock Alphabet. You can hear anywhere else except here at Pearson & Bryson. Ciao.